A letter from Disability and Jesus to the Church Times, responding to a column by Canon Angela Tilby published on the 8th of May 2020. It is always disappointing when a person of influence projects their own personality flaws on colleagues and in that process undoes any hard work being carried out by said colleagues. We write in response to the regular column by Reverend Angela Tilby in the Church Times. The C of E has become member only, 8th May 2020. Week after week, it seems this column brings words of scorn and criticism, this week centering once again around the move by many churches to the online space in a way of exploring continuity of worship with those who can access such a platform. Some clergy and church leaders are managing to adapt to what is for them a new environment for exercising their priestly ministry. Some utilising a smartphone, a bulldog clip, and a carefully positioned laptop screen on a windowsill. Others are utilising a larger amount of technical kit to improve and enhance lighting and sound wherever possible. All are trying hard to do their best. Rather like the curate entering their first incumbency and discovering that it is a huge leap from one to the other, having to adapt quickly, church leaders and congregations are having to adapt quickly to a communal space they were not trained for. Church of England formation assumes bricks and mortar and has not previously considered the online space as an equally viable place of community and worship. Now that the mainstream church has found itself online in something of an exodus nomadic experience, complete with the cry of wishing to go back to Egypt where everything was known, church leaders and their congregations find themselves in a very public space, more so than the seemingly public arena of a church building. Ms. Tilby uses the phrase, "The performer in me enjoyed the experience," in talking about leading an online Eucharist. We find this fascinating, as in many other column inches, she has criticised what she perceives as the showmanship of clergy online. She has previously indicated that for a priest to publicly enjoy their ministry is a bad thing when online. However, we can find no evidence of a similar criticism for priests enjoying their ministry when contained inside the safety of a building. Ms. Tilby argues that it is much simpler to live stream a Eucharist from inside a cathedral than it is from a domestic space. We wonder how many cathedrals have reliable Wi-Fi and the ability to dampen sound so that it can be heard better. Whilst cathedrals may have the grandeur and presence that some may long for, they also have echo and sound issues which prevent many people with hearing loss from worshipping and belonging. The domestic spaces from which we are currently operating each come with your own parking, appropriate seating, and the ability to participate or leave without judgment. There is space for your guide and assistance dogs, and if we get our act together, we can provide you with a copy of the liturgy the day before. In describing the phrase, "the church is the people, not the buildings," as a trite trope, Ms. Tilby sweeps aside the original Greek meaning of the word church, ecclesia, or gathering, and ignores the fact that Jesus built his church on a person, Peter, and not a literal lump of rock. There's also the bizarre claim that a message coming from the domestic setting, rather than a cathedral, means the established church has nothing to say about death, sacrifice, or charity. This is to suggest that the gospel of Christ can only be spoken with any integrity from inside a church building, and not, therefore, on a sofa at a funeral visit, during a WhatsApp call with a baptism family, over a garden fence with someone exploring meaning, or on the beach where fish is being cooked for breakfast, in a garden with dozy disciples, in a tentative conversation with a young woman in the kitchen, or to religious leaders by a riverbank. Ms. Tilby unhelpfully cites anonymous examples of people being afraid to put letters through letterboxes and therefore find themselves unable to connect with those who are offline. She may be thinking back 2 months ago to a time when people were uninformed and concerned about coronavirus staying on letters, therefore infecting anyone receiving any form of post. If this were to be the case, the Royal Mail and other delivery companies would have stopped trading instantly. Equally, had Miss Tilby done her homework effectively, she would have found dozens of churches posting out resources to their congregations and wider contacts, enabling them to be church at home and modelling genuine inclusion of those offline. One of the slightly more eyebrow-raising throwaway comments Miss Tilby made this week was the idea that there are lunatic faith groups in this country claiming godly protection over their public gatherings. Perhaps Miss Tilby has confused England with America, but it's certainly one of the more outlandish claims that she makes in her authorised column in an attack on the motives of the archbishops and bishops to whom she has sworn canonical obedience. Her parting shot is to criticise the role of clergy against the paid roles of postman, bus driver and health workers who are still working for the common good, as though clergy who are finding the mixed economy of worship, leading and priestly ministry to be somehow not working for the common good, because it doesn't suit the model of priestly ministry to which Miss Tilby holds as authentic. We can only hope that Miss Tilby and others who support her will put as much effort into the injustice of inaccessible church buildings, incomprehensible church liturgy, and the dismissal of the ministry of deaf and disabled people once we return to the church buildings she is so willing to fight for. Signed, Reverend Katie Topling, co-founder of Disability and Jesus, Dawson Disability Advisor and lead chaplain amongst deaf people. Also Mr. David Lucas, co-founder of Disability and Jesus. Also Reverend Bill Bravner, co-founder of Disability and Jesus and a Dawson Disability Advisor. To the best of our knowledge, our letter has not been published by the Church Times.